if an educator only had time to improve one part of a course using a multimodal approach, where would you suggest they start?
So I would say you need to, if you don't, if you have data on the course, or if you have some, like, some student kind of insight on the course, I would look for the area where learners struggled the most. Or maybe there's an assessment they didn't do real well. Well, where is that assessment aligned with the content, and look at that content. So starting to look where there was some not optimal performance, right? Basically, or that maybe they struggle a little bit. And that's where I would look to make those small changes and improvements. And my guess is, if you can do that, and that almost like postmortem, right? Looking at it and going backwards and going, okay, I bet you the content was either probably ambiguous, or it was content that was just like all text or something. And there's probably means to help reduce the complexity, or the intrinsic or extraneous load there, to produce some better outcomes. I have even found, doing this, where I did I took the student performance and I went backwards and looked, and I found that the assessment area was not even covered in the content. That when we that's where I would say start. If you have data on it, or if you don't, if it's brand new, use your own experience of, like, where would I struggle most in this content, and look there for where you're trying to improve. And I, I mean, that's kind of a general response, but I usually find that kind of like will highlight areas where you can get the greatest improvement for time spent.
That's good, especially for instructional designers like myself that work on content that where it's not my expertise, right? Where
Hmm.
I'm doing counseling curriculum and social work curriculum, and that's not my expertise. So you're right. I mean, I always ask the subject matter experts. I'm like, would students struggle with this? Would they understand this coming into this course? What have they had beforehand, right? So yeah, I think
Yeah,
that's so important. Yeah.
yeah. It's one of the examples I like to use is the math teacher, right? The math teacher could be an expert in mathematics, but in order to be a good teacher, you also have to know where students are going to most likely make mistakes. That's another kind of set of knowledge and skill set that would make you a good math teacher, on top of just the math skills themselves, right? And
Right. So true. And that's it's kind of one of the other myths I talk about. I did the recording yesterday was that good teaching does not equal instructional design, good instructional design, because, teachers do bring certain skill sets, but that doesn't automatically make them good instructional designers because
yeah,
what we do is different. So being able to
yeah.
have that is good.
And that teacher, one of the skill sets, when you're in the classroom, is understanding that your students, and bringing the content to them, right, to where it's just enough to challenge them. And example from my military days, we were teaching military op orders, so operations orders, how to write an operation order, basically, right? Pretty boring subject, right? Well, we had a captain that was in there that was really great at it, but these were like brand new. They had no idea what an operation order was, on top of that. And the captain went in there just like telling them all these all the great, it was fantastic, great stuff. But the students really didn't learn anything because it was so far above them. I
Yeah.
watched another individual went in there, and he started talking about how to plan a vacation. And the students are like getting it. And then what he did is he translated each of those steps for planning a vacation to writing an operation order. And the students got it. So
Yeah.
the design of the course didn't change in either of those. It was how the teacher related that to the audience, and that's a skill, right? That has to be developed.
Absolutely. Yep. That's so true. Wow. I love that.